The corridors of the Vanguard buzzed with low, steady hums as Commander Rhea Solon walked briskly toward the command deck. Her dark uniform was neat, her posture sharp. Years of discipline had shaped her into the Empire's ideal officer, calm, efficient, and loyal. But behind her focused eyes, something restless stirred. The holographic doors slid open with a hiss. Captain Varun, a gray-bearded man with cold eyes, stood waiting beside the central console. "You're being reassigned, Commander," he said, without greeting. "Sector Andromeda 4. You'll depart immediately." Rhea frowned. "That's frontier territory. Hardly anything out there but mining colonies and old relay stations." Varun didn't blink. 3 Empire outposts in the area have gone dark in the past 6 days. No signals, no emergency beacons. Complete silence. "Pirates?" she asked. "Too clean for pirates," he replied. The last message from Varix 9 ended mid-sentence. "No signs of attack. Command wants a report within 72 hours. Rhea's fingers twitched slightly. She remembered something, or rather, someone. Her brother, Kale. He had been stationed in the same sector before he disappeared 5 years ago. She had received only one message before he vanished. "Rhea, if I'm right, none of us are safe." She shook the memory off and nodded. "Understood, sir." Varun handed her a datapad. "You'll command the Vanguard for this mission. Your authority is full, until contact is re-established." Dismissed. As she left the room, the door closed behind her like a final seal. She stared down at the datapad, her eyes scanning the mission file. Varix 9, outposts Juno Station and Echo Reach, all silent. The last known ping was from an unmapped region near an asteroid field called Red Veil. Her gut told her this wasn't a simple communication fault. Within hours, the Vanguard left orbit. The stars stretched into lines as the ship entered hyperspace. The crew was quiet, focused, most unaware of the significance of this mission. Lieutenant Cass, her second-in-command, monitored the nav system. A young but capable officer, Cass had served with Rhea for 2 years. "No signs of activity in the Red Veil, Commander," he reported. "It's quiet out there." "Too quiet," she murmured. She spent the travel time reviewing the outpost's last transmissions. Echo Reach's message was cut off after a distress ping. Juno Station had sent a fragment of corrupted data. Nothing useful. Varix 9's log was chilling. Requesting backup. "They're not who they say they are." Then silence. By the time the Vanguard dropped out of hyperspace near Varix 9, a thin sense of unease hung in the air. The colony appeared intact from orbit. No signs of damage. No movement. They sent a landing team. Rhea stepped onto the surface in her sealed suit, boots crunching on metallic dust. The station doors opened automatically, as if nothing was wrong. Inside, the lights flickered. Terminals were still active, screens blinking with frozen data. Chairs were knocked over, meals left half-eaten. It was like people had vanished mid-task. "Commander," Cass said through the comm. "No bodies, no signs of struggle. But someone shut down the security systems from the inside." Rhea moved to the command console. She tapped in her clearance code and opened the station logs. Most were missing or encrypted, but one message remained, buried deep. It played only audio. "If this gets out, the Empire will never recover. They lied to us. We trusted them." The voice stopped suddenly. The file ended in static. Back on the Vanguard, Rhea sat alone in her quarters, the datapad in her hand. Her brother's last words echoed in her mind. Could he have known something about this? Then the sensor officer called her to the bridge. "Commander, we picked up a signal. Very faint. Encrypted. Definitely human, but not Imperial." Rhea stood slowly. Location: near the edge of the Red Veil asteroid field. Then it vanished. She stared at the star map. Someone was out there, watching, waiting. Rhea looked at Cass. "Set course for the signal's origin. I want full systems on standby. This isn't over." As the ship turned into the void, the shadows seemed to grow longer around them. The Vanguard moved slowly through space, its engines quiet as it drifted toward the edge of the Red Veil asteroid field. The stars outside were dim, covered by swirling clouds of dust and ice. The field was old and unpredictable. Ancient fragments of shattered moons drifted aimlessly, pulled by gravity no one could fully map. Few ships came here unless they had no choice. Inside the ship, the crew moved with quiet focus. Tension had settled like a weight no one wanted to mention. Even the hum of the engine felt quieter here. Commander Rhea Solon stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the star map. The mysterious signal had come from deep inside the field. Just a few seconds of static-encoded pulses, then nothing. But it was human. That much she was sure of. "Any luck cleaning up the signal?" she asked. Lieutenant Cass shook his head. "Too weak." But it bounced off something metallic before disappearing. Big enough to be a ship. Rhea folded her arms. "Plot a path, slow and steady. I want to see what's hiding out there." Cass gave the order. The Vanguard turned and pushed forward. The ship slipped into the asteroid field, sensors sweeping carefully ahead. Outside the viewing glass, giant rocks floated past like silent giants. Every now and then a piece would scrape by with a faint clang, harmless but unnerving. 30 minutes later, the crew located a station, small, old and drifting near the edge of a large cratered asteroid. No power, no life signs. It wasn't on any chart. Rhea frowned. "What is that?" "Looks like an abandoned relay hub. Not Empire built. Possibly pre-war human tech," Cass replied. "Dock us," she ordered. "I'm going in." She and 2 crew members boarded the small station through a side airlock. The inside was dark, lit only by the faint glow of her helmet lamp. Dust floated in the air, disturbed by their steps. Wires hung from the ceiling like dead vines. She walked through a narrow hallway to the control center. The console was ancient but intact. She tapped on the screen, no response. "Power it manually," she said. Her crew opened a side panel, connecting a portable battery. The system whirred faintly, and the screen blinked to life. The interface was clunky, but she recognized the layout. Old resistance tech. Rhea accessed the last data cache. It was a message log, text only. Entry 438. "We spotted it again. A ship, massive. No transponder. Looks human, but not Empire. Could be the rebels. But why are they hiding?" Entry 439. "Virix 9 is gone. No beacon, no warning. Just silence." Entry 440. "We're shutting down the station. This sector is cursed. If anyone finds this, don't follow the signal. It's a trap." The last entry sent a chill through her. "Download everything," she ordered. As they left, Rhea paused at the exit. For a second she thought she saw a shadow move in the corridor. But when she turned her light, there was nothing. Just a flicker in the dust. Back on the Vanguard, she reviewed the data. The mysterious ship had been seen more than once, always near outposts that went silent. The logs matched the timing of the Empire's communication loss. Someone or something was moving through the sector, and every station it came near disappeared. As she read, the sensor officer's voice came over the intercom. "Commander, we've got movement, straight ahead." Rhea rushed to the bridge. On the screen, a shape floated in the darkness, just at the edge of sensor range. It was enormous, angular, silent. It had no Empire ID, no lights, no signal, but it was a warship, human-made. Then, without warning, it vanished. "Where did it go?" Rhea asked. Cass worked the controls. "It's gone. Cloaked maybe. Or using advanced signal suppression." Rhea stared at the screen, jaw tight. "That's no pirate ship," she said quietly. "Something's out there, something that doesn't want to be found." Later that night, alone in her quarters, she replayed the last part of the Virix 9 message again. "They're not who they say they are." She thought of her brother. Of the stories he used to whisper when they were younger. Stories of secret fleets, hidden factions and rebels who weren't really rebels. She was starting to think he hadn't been lying after all. The Vanguard hovered near the edge of the red veil. Engines low, shields steady. A cold silence filled the bridge. No one spoke, but everyone felt the weight of what they had seen. A massive warship, human-made, vanishing into the void. Commander Rhea Solon stood at the center of the room, eyes locked on the empty space where the ship had disappeared. Every instinct in her body told her this mission had changed. They were no longer just investigating lost outposts. They were being watched. "Any trace of the warship?" she asked. Lieutenant Cass shook his head. "Nothing on sensors. No energy trails. It's like it wasn't even there." She turned to the comms officer. "Send a report to command. Encrypted. Use a direct relay to fleet intel." The officer hesitated. "Commander, transmission blocked. Something's jamming us." Rhea's jaw tightened. Redundant backup line. No response. She stared at the screen. Isolation was dangerous out here, but she couldn't turn back now. Too much was at stake. "Chart a path deeper into the field," she said. "We're going after it." The Vanguard crept forward, its scanners wide, systems alert. The asteroid field thickened. The rocks outside spun slowly, some the size of buildings, others no larger than debris. Dust clouds drifted around them, lit only by distant starlight. Every shadow felt like a threat. 2 hours passed, then suddenly, impact. The ship jolted. "Report," Rhea shouted. "EMP blast," Cass replied. "It came from inside the field. Systems are flickering, shields are dropping." Before anyone could respond, a shockwave rippled across the hull. Lights dimmed. Consoles sparked. The ship's power drained rapidly. "Something's locking onto us, tractor beam," yelled the helm officer. Rhea braced herself as the ship lurched violently. Outside the viewport, a massive vessel emerged from behind a drifting rock. There it was, the same warship. Its surface was dark gray, reinforced with heavy armor, old but upgraded. It had no Empire markings, no lights, just a silent, towering presence. The crew stared in awe and fear. Then everything went black. Rhea opened her eyes slowly. She was no longer on the bridge. The room was dim, metallic, quiet. Her hands were free, but her tools were gone. A door opened in front of her with a soft hiss. A tall figure stepped in. He wore a dark coat, old military style, with no insignia. His beard was trimmed. His eyes were sharp, but familiar. Rhea stood slowly, stunned. "Kale." Her brother didn't answer at first. He studied her with calm seriousness. "It's been a long time, Rhea," he finally said. She stared at him, heart racing. He looked older, harder, but it was him. Alive. "After 5 years of silence, you're the one commanding this ship?" she asked. He nodded. "This is the Argonaut. We built it after the Empire left us for dead." Rhea's voice was low. "What are you doing out here? Why are you jamming the Empire's systems? Why attack the outposts?" Kale's face darkened. "We didn't attack them. We warned them. They tried to expose something they found, something buried deep in Empire archives." "What?" she asked. He took a breath. "The Empire has been running tests on colonists in this sector. Genetic experiments, forced modifications, failed programs buried in old mining stations. They called it the Ascension Protocol. The outpost tried to speak up, and then they went dark." Rhea felt like the air was being pulled from her lungs. "You're lying." Kale looked directly into her eyes. "You know I'm not." She sat down slowly. "Why didn't you come back? Why didn't you tell me?" "I tried," he said, "but I was being hunted. The Empire wanted me dead. They thought I stole data. In truth, I took evidence. Enough to expose them. But no one would believe me back then." Rhea stayed silent for a long moment. Kale walked to a console. "I'll give you the files. You can decide what to do. But know this, if you send that data back to command, they'll bury it. And me." She looked up at him. "Then why give it to me?" "Because I trust you," he said. "You're not like them. You still think for yourself." Later, Rhea stood alone in a dark hallway, holding a data drive Kale had given her. Her mind raced. Everything she believed about the Empire was shaking. If Kale was right, then this was bigger than a lost signal. It was a cover-up. A voice came over the intercom. "Commander Solon, we've restored partial power to the Vanguard. We're releasing your ship. You may go." She returned to the shuttle that brought her in. No one stopped her. No guns, no threats, just silence. As she left the Argonaut, she looked back one last time. Kale stood in the docking bay, watching her go. No words, just a nod. The shuttle reconnected with the Vanguard. Systems came back online. Her crew was safe, shaken but unharmed. No one knew what had happened except her. Cass approached her. "Commander." "Orders?" Rhea slipped the data drive into her coat. "We're leaving the field," she said quietly. "Set course for neutral space." Cass frowned. "Are we reporting this?" Rhea didn't answer right away. She stared out the viewport as the Vanguard turned from the shadows of the Red Veil. For now the truth stayed in her pocket. The Vanguard sailed through open space, leaving the Red Veil asteroid field behind. The silence felt different now. Heavier. Commander Rhea Solon stood on the bridge, staring at the stars ahead. The crew didn't speak much. They were recovering from what happened, though they didn't know all of it. Only Rhea knew the full truth. Her brother Kale was alive. He commanded a hidden human warship, the Argonaut. He hadn't been a traitor, as the Empire claimed. He had found something terrible. He had shown her proof. Now, the data drive in her coat pocket felt like a weight pressing against her chest. "Commander," Lieutenant Cass said, stepping beside her, "we're clear of the field. Long-range comms are stable again. Should I prepare the report to High Command?" Rhea hesitated. The right thing, the expected thing, was to tell the Empire everything. To say they found a threat, a rebel ship, a hostile force. But she knew that wasn't true. The real threat wasn't the Argonaut. It was what the Empire had done in secret. Experiments on colonists, genetic manipulation, all hidden under layers of classified files. "No," she said at last. "I need time to review what we recovered. Hold the report." Cass looked surprised but nodded. "Understood." Back in her quarters, Rhea locked the door and activated her private terminal. She inserted the data drive Kale had given her. Lines of code and encrypted files appeared on the screen. She ran a decryption tool. It took hours. The files opened slowly, one by one. Video logs from Virix 9, medical records, audio recordings from Imperial scientists, test results, failed trials. The words Ascension Protocol appeared repeatedly. The logs spoke of altering human DNA for enhanced intelligence and strength, but the side effects were devastating. Madness, loss of memory, even death. The colonists had been used like test subjects. One log entry chilled her. "If this spreads, we're finished. Shut it down. Remove witnesses. Discredit anyone who speaks." Another voice replied, "We already blamed the rebels. Let it stay that way." Rhea leaned back in her chair. Her heart pounded. The Empire. Her empire had hidden this, lied, covered it all up. Her brother had been telling the truth, and the Empire had tried to silence him. She looked down at her hands. They were steady, but inside her thoughts were a storm. Later she stood alone in the comms room. A secure channel to High Command blinked on the screen. Is one touch, and she could send everything. Her report, the false version, the one that said a rebel ship was threatening the sector. It would protect her career, earn her praise, promotion even, but it would also bury the truth. She stared at the screen for a long time. Then she shut it off. The next day, an incoming message reached the Vanguard. A fleet was en route to the Red Veil. Command had picked up traces of energy from the region and was sending ships to investigate. Cass brought the message to her. "Fleet Command is asking for status confirmation," he said. "They've launched 6 ships. Heavy carriers. They're preparing for a fight." Rhea's heart sank. If the fleet reached the Red Veil and found the Argonaut, they would attack without question. They'd see it as a threat. Kale wouldn't run again. He would fight. People would die on both sides. She had to make a choice. Let the fleet go and risk a war, or try to stop it and betray the Empire. Rhea walked into the bridge and took her seat. "Cass," she said, "prepare a private channel. I need to speak directly to the fleet commander." He looked at her with surprise. "Stas souls as a warning." "Not exactly," she said. "I'm going to try and stop a war." The crew stared as she stood up. "I know many of you have questions. You deserve answers. But for now, I'm asking for your trust. What we saw in the Red Veil is not what Command thinks. If we let them move in with guns drawn, good people will die." Cass was the first to nod. "We trust you, Commander." One by one the others followed. Zaria opened the encrypted channel and recorded her message. "This is Commander Riaz Solon of the Vanguard. You are heading into a situation that is not what it seems. The ship in the Red Veil is not an enemy. There is more to this than Command knows. I request immediate suspension of military action until a full investigation can be conducted. I will deliver classified data directly to Fleet Intel for review." She sent it, then waited. No response came. Hours later they detected the fleet approaching fast. Rhea looked at the empty space ahead and felt fear tighten in her chest. But it wasn't for herself. It was for Kale, and for the truth, hanging in the balance. The fleet arrived just before dawn, their ships piercing through the edge of the Red Veil like blades through mist. 6 heavy carriers, each armed with long-range cannons, defense drones and electronic warfare pods. They spread out across the dark side of a collapsed star, cold and quiet, its gravity still strong enough to twist space around it. The Vanguard held its position at a safe distance, hovering between the Empire's fleet and the asteroid field. Commander Reyes Solon stood at the center of the bridge, eyes locked on the war map. The fleet commander, Admiral Thorne, had not responded to her warning. No message, no acknowledgement, but now his ships were forming attack positions. They were preparing to strike. "Still no word from the fleet?" she asked quietly. "None, Commander," Cass replied. "They've locked onto a target inside the field. Same coordinates where the Argonaut was last seen." Ria's hands tightened around the edge of the console. "They're going to fire," she said. "They don't care what the truth is. They came here to end a threat, even if it isn't one." Her mind raced. If she let this happen, Kale would die. So would his crew. So would the truth. She turned to the comms officer. "Open a channel to the fleet. Unsecured. Full broadcast." The officer hesitated. "Commander, that'll go public. Everyone will hear it." "I know," she said. The channel opened. Rhea took a deep breath. "This is Commander Reyes Solon of the Vanguard. I am placing myself in direct opposition to the current fleet orders. The ship you are targeting is not hostile. It carries evidence of a crime committed by the Empire. Evidence I now hold." She reached into her coat and held the data drive before the screen. "This drive contains files on a classified project called Ascension Protocol. Unauthorized experiments on civilians, genetic trials, suppressed reports. I have seen them. I have verified them. If you destroy that ship, you will destroy the only living witnesses left." Silence followed. The fleet did not respond. Instead, the targeting systems locked in. "They're charging weapons," Cass said. 30 seconds to fire." Rhea made her choice. "Disable their targeting systems. Now." Cass froze. "You want me to?" "Commander, that's treason." "I'm not asking again." Cass nodded. He moved fast, tapping into the fleet's command codes, the same codes Rhea had as a communications officer. They weren't meant for combat, but they could interrupt ship protocols temporarily. He sent the override. On the war map, red indicators blinked yellow. Weapons paused. Guidance systems lost track of the target. Rhea turned back to the broadcast. "If any of you hear me, look at the data. Question the orders. You don't have to fire just because someone above you says so. We are soldiers, not machines." Suddenly a voice cut through the channel. "Commander Solon," said Admiral Thorne, "you are relieved of command. Shut down your systems and prepare to be boarded." She ignored him. Another alert flashed across the screen. "New contact," shouted the sensor officer. "The Argonaut. It's moving." The massive human warship emerged from the shadow of a nearby moon. Silent, calm, ready. It didn't fire. It didn't run. It simply faced the fleet, shields raised, weapons cold. Rhea stared at the screen. She knew Cattle was making a choice too. Inside the Vanguard, alarms rang. 2 Imperial drones approached, ready to breach. Rhea stood her ground. "Divert power to the shields," she ordered. But before the drones reached them, another ship moved. One of the fleet's destroyers broke formation. It turned its weapons away. A second ship followed, then a third. Slowly the attack collapsed. "Fleet is standing down," Cass said. His voice was soft with disbelief. "They're not firing." Rhea let out a breath. She didn't know she was holding. Admiral Thorne's voice returned. Colder this time. "You've made a mess, Solon. Don't think this is over." The channel cut out. Hours later, the fleet began to withdraw. Some of the captains had reviewed the data. Others had simply refused to fire without proof. The truth was now out in the open. Rhea knew she would pay for it, but it didn't matter. The Argonaut was still out there. Cattle was alive, and for the first time in years the Empire had been forced to stop and listen. She stood at the window of her quarters, watching the stars shift around the blackened star. Cass entered quietly behind her. "Orders, Commander." Rhea didn't turn. "Plot a course back to Central Command. We'll hand over the data in person." Cass nodded. "What will they do to you?" "Whatever they want," she said. "But they won't stop the truth now." Outside, the Argonaut drifted slowly away, disappearing into the deep, endless dark. The Vanguard moved steadily through open space, heading toward Central Command. The stars ahead were bright and endless, but the silence inside the ship was heavy. No one said much. The crew followed orders, but there was something different in their eyes now. They had seen what the Empire tried to hide. Commander Rhea Solon stood alone in her quarters. The data drive sat on her desk, glowing faintly. It held the truth, evidence of everything. The experiments, the cover-ups, the silenced outposts. Her choice had brought it into the light, but it had also made her a target. The door chimed. "Come in," she said. Lieutenant Cass entered, holding a datapad. "We're close to Central Command," he said. "They've ordered us to dock immediately. You're to be taken in for questioning." Rhea nodded. "I expected that." Cass hesitated. "They sent a message for the crew as well. It says they're not under suspicion. They're free to go." She looked up. "Good. They don't deserve to be punished for my choice." Cass didn't move. "Commander, I just want to say, I saw the files. I saw what they did. Whatever happens next, you did the right thing." Rhea gave a faint smile. "Thank you." The Vanguard approached the massive station orbiting a red dwarf star. Central Command was a fortress, ringed with turrets, docking bays and patrolling drones. As they entered the perimeter, a boarding team was already waiting in the main hangar. Rhea walked off the ship without resistance. Her uniform was clean, her back straight. She carried the data drive in her hand. No words were exchanged as she was led through the cold gray halls. Cameras followed her. Guards stayed close, but she showed no fear. Inside the tribunal chamber, 3 high-ranking officers sat behind a long table. Admiral Thorne was one of them. His expression was hard. Rhea stood in front of them, unchained. "Commander Solon," the lead officer said, "you are charged with disobedience, unauthorized transmission of classified material, and use of fleet override codes without approval. Do you understand these charges?" "I do," she said clearly. "Do you have anything to say in your defense?" Rhea placed the data drive on the table. "This contains the truth," she said, "about the Ascension Protocol, about the colonies, about what the Empire did. I don't deny my actions. I did what I had to do, because the people we serve deserve the truth." Silence followed. The officers said nothing. Admiral Thorne narrowed his eyes. "You think exposing this makes you a hero?" "No," Rhea said. "It makes me responsible." The lead officer reached for the drive. He didn't plug it in. He simply looked at it, then at her. "We will review the contents. You are dismissed, for now." Guards led her away. She didn't resist. 3 days passed. Rhea was placed in a holding room. Small, windowless, silent. She waited. She thought of Kale. She wondered where the Argonaut was now. Maybe deep in another sector. may be gone again, but she hoped he was safe, that her message reached him. On the fourth day, a guard brought her food and a small message device. She looked up, confused. "Who sent this?" she asked. The guard didn't answer, just left. She tapped the screen. The message was short. The signal was heard. "The proof is spreading. You did the right thing." "It's like." Rhea smiled. Outside, across the Empire, the data began to leak. It reached colonies, trade stations and neutral worlds. Some denied it. Others demanded answers. Protests sparked. Debates began in the Senate. Whispers of rebellion grew louder. The silence had broken. Rhea remained in custody, but she wasn't forgotten. People had heard her words. They had seen the truth, and truth once seen could not be hidden again. Far from the red dwarf star, deep in the cold edges of space, a single ship sailed in the dark. The Argonaut, watching, waiting.